Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Creighton. What if I told you there was a bill in front of the House of Commons, actually passed by the House of Commons, that was going to make it impossible and illegal to eat meat? What if I said there was a Vegan Act bill in front of the House of Commons? What if I told you this was a Trojan horse bill, a poison pill bill, camouflaged as emergency preparedness, just like we had during the COVID epidemic? What would you say if I told you it had already passed the House of Commons and it was now in the hands of the Senate? When we come back, the awful truth about Bill C-293. So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist. Welcome back. Sorry. Microphone problems. Thank you for joining me again this morning. Bill C-293. Do you believe this bill has passed the House of Commons? Do you even know about this bill? I think most of you watching today are aware of this bill. Are most Canadians aware of this bill? No, they're not. And that's because the government has not been talking about it. This is a private member's bill. So many poison pills get through the House of Commons and the Senate because they're private members' bills. They can't be that dangerous, right? That's an innocuous bill. It's just a private member's bill. And if it got this far, well, if it's really a bad private member's bill, they never see the light of day, and they certainly won't get past first or second reading. This one has. This one has. And by popular demand, there's been literally hundreds of people saying, please do a show on Bill C-293, which I confess I didn't know a whole lot about either, because you get focused on other things like the Online Harms Act, Bill C-63. You get focused on the carbon tax. You get focused on other issues. Thankfully, the Conservatives did not vote for this bill. I can say at least that. That is reassuring. And the Bloc didn't vote for it, not because ideologically they're opposed to what this bill is about, which is essentially outlawing meat. That's the poison pill in this bill. But because it would have infringed upon Quebec autonomy, Quebec independence, and anything that's bad for Quebec separation, independence, autonomy is bad for the Bloc, even if it's ideologically opposed or in tune with their thinking. Because as far as the Bloc goes, they only have one ideology, and that's separation. So thankfully, Sylvain Charlebois, who you may know as the food professor on X, this guy, and you can read all of the relevant information in the description. We put that in there. If you want to respond about this bill, tell your senator, don't vote for this. I'm sure most of you have already told your MPs. Too late now. It's gone past third reading. It's past third reading. I'm holding up the bill right now, and it says past third reading. I'll be reading a couple of passages from this, but I want to read. I'll show you a clip to begin here, so we can get going on the. And this is, of course, my old friend Senator Pam Wallen. And this is.
I got a response in October of 2022 from the author of this bill. Or is he an author, or is he just put it forth? His name is Erskine Smith. And he told me to look at his podcast on conspiracy theories. So imagine, while I was concerned about the WHO's International Health Regulations and Pandemic Treaty, he was domesticating it in the way of a bill and told me that it was a conspiracy theory and that I should look into that. look into conspiracy theories and not get worried. So it's passed our House. It's had 3 readings. Um,
And we'll get back to that in a little while. I want to show you a few slides here. I'm going to read from this column by Sylvain Charlebois. Is Bill C-293 Canada's Vegan Act? And this is the essence of the criticism, that this is going to not just regulate, but shut down Canada's food industry in terms of meat. And it actually is going to impact everything else as well. As you just heard, the member of parliament behind this member is a Liberal MP by the name of Nathaniel Erskine Smith, who is a, shall we say, well-known vegan in the House, if you can be one. And once again, I don't care what he eats. I don't care if you're a vegan. For some people, it might be a healthy lifestyle. But don't impose your healthy lifestyle or don't impose your eating preferences on the rest of Canada. I like my T-bone steak. I always will. And I don't want anybody infringing upon that. That's up there with blocking my freedom of speech, buddy. Don't dare stop me from my T-bone steaks or my ribs. And this is what this is all about. This is all under the guise of emergency preparedness. Got to get ready for that next pandemic. And to do so, we've got to prevent people from eating meat. We got to shut down the meat packing plants. We got to shut down the farms. We got to shut down the stockades. We got to shut down anything that might somehow pass on the pandemic or stimulate or be a part of the pandemic, even if there's no bloody evidence for it. Where did this come from? Is this somehow, did this brainchild bill erupt during the fake bovine pandemic that never transpired and never happened? Remember, we were going to have to slaughter chickens all over North America because we were going to be struck with the bovine disease. If I recall, though, during COVID, during the hysteria around COVID, did anybody suggest we had to stop eating meat or that the meat we were eating was passing on the disease or the animals were? So where is this guy getting this connection? Obviously, this is a bill camouflaged as an emergency preparedness bill to get you to stop eating meat because this guy just doesn't like it. I'm going to read a bit from Sylvan's article here. It says, it is almost inconceivable that Bill C-293 remains largely unknown among Canadians, given its potential to significantly expand government powers. Yeah. In response to future pandemics. A detailed examination of the bill does more than sow confusion about its intentions. It reveals a troubling spirit at its core. Bill C-293, a private member's bill that recently advanced through the House of Commons with little resistance, purports to bolster Canada's pandemic preparedness. Yet a deeper analysis exposes provisions that could disastrously impact the agriculture and agri-food sector, which are vital to our national economy and food security. No question. Under this bill, public health officials could have the authority to close facilities they consider high risk, such as meat packing plants during pandemics, and even mandate the consumption of vegetable proteins by Canadians. Mandate that. Measures that border on the absurd. Yeah, I would say so. It's hardly surprising that the private member who introduced this bill is Liberal MP Nathaniel Erskine Smith, who is known for his vegan lifestyle. The ease with which this legislation passed highlights a disconcerting disconnection and dysfunction within our parliament. Where normally proposals of such magnitude would undergo extensive debate and scrutiny, this had very little debate, or certainly. Currently, the Senate, which is now reviewing Bill C-293, is is inundated with more than 120 letters daily from concerned groups and citizens, all apprehensive about the bill's broad regulatory reach and its implications. One of the most alarming aspects of Bill C-293 is the discretionary power it would grant to officials to shut down agriculture facilities without clear objective criteria. Such arbitrary actions could disrupt not only meat supply chains, but also the wider agricultural operations linked to them, including feed production. This threatens to destabilize related sectors and could trigger cascading efforts throughout the entire food system. Now, I'm going to read a bit from the bill itself. You think this guy's exaggerating? You think that it's not really that bad? Of course, he doesn't call it the Vegan Act. No, no, he doesn't. He calls it the Pandemic Prevention and Preparedness Act. Sounds a little more innocuous, doesn't it? But why is he doing this? In the preamble, it says, whereas it is critical to build on the lessons learned from previous outbreaks of serious diseases. What outbreak of a serious disease or pandemic had anything to do with regulating food? Nothing. He mentions H1N1 flu. No, sorry, I was involved in actually the vaccine campaign in the Canadian Armed Forces. We didn't say anything about food during that H1N1 flu outbreak. Nothing during COVID-19. So what's going on with this? Is this all about taking your right to eat food away? You go through all of the description of this bill. Ensure sustained collaboration between the Minister of Health and provincial governments. So what? Of course, there's sustained collaboration. There always has been, always will be. Provide for training programs. Ensure that standards and guidelines, blah, blah. Describe the state of research in relation to preventing and responding to infectious diseases that could lead to pandemics. Duh. Support local public health and primary care capacity building. Obviously. Why do we need a bill? This is just incredibly obvious stuff until we get to what he really wants to talk about. And that's we don't get that till L. Reduce the risk posed by antimicrobial resistance. And here they are. This is the crux of this bill. Number 2, regulate commercial activities that can contribute to pandemic risk, including industrial animal agriculture. Regulate, pretty weaselly word. That can mean shut down. That can mean anything the bill author and the Minister of Health wants. Number 3, promote commercial activities that can help reduce pandemic risk, including the production of alternative proteins. That's code for vegan food. That's what alternative proteins are. So there it is. Promote. Now, what the hell does that really mean? How does that have anything to do with preparing for a pandemic or combating a pandemic? So we all stop eating meat, we're going to be healthy? Actually, quite the reverse. But this is the crux of this bill. The Minister of Health, and we'll get to who the Minister of Health is going to designate to do this. The Minister of Health can shut down the meat industry and force you to eat nothing but vegan food. I'm not making this up. It's right here. Number 4, phase out commercial activities that disproportionately contribute to pandemic risk, including activities that involve high-risk species. There you go again. And this is clearly the poison pill in this bill. This is what I call it. And I think Sylvain Charlebois would probably agree with that. And here's the other one. This is letter O. Set out in consultation with relevant ministers a summary of the key cooperative measures or agreements on disease outbreak prevention and preparedness between the Government of Canada, other foreign governments, and key international organizations. Here it is again, including the World Health Organization, the United Nations Environment Program, the World Organization for Animal Health. This is basically a group that advocates vegetarianism and veganism. They want to eradicate meat eating. So that's who we're consulting with. and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Yeah, let's get the globalists in line so they can start telling us what to eat and what not to eat. It's pretty transparent. Read the bill. If you think I'm making this up, read the bill. It's all in this bill. Apparently, not many people in the media bothered to look at it. Like I said, this is what happens all the time. When we're focused on other issues, private members' bill can come up through the middle because people don't even know what's inside of them. And there's an assumption on the private members' bill can't be that bad because it would never have gotten that far. So I've got your comments coming up today because, like I said, this show Sunday. And by the way, hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. It's overcast and foggy here in Ottawa this morning, but I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday because it's going to be another one of those weeks, isn't it? So, who's going to be making these decisions? Is it the Minister of Health? Who makes the decision to shut down the meat packing plants? Who makes the decision so stores can't sell steaks anymore, or pork chops, or chicken breasts, or anything? Who makes the decision to have a meatless Wednesday that turns into a meatless week, that turns into a meatless month? Because it's all about stopping the pandemic. Well, there's going to be a new czar, just like the online harms bill creates a censorship czar, another authoritarian position to tell you what to do, what to say, what to think. This bill would create a vegan czar. Let's call it that. National Coordinator, Pandemic Prevention and Preparedness. A an emergency preparedness czar. For the purpose of coordinating the activities under the Pandemic Prevention and Preparedness Act, the minister shall appoint a national pandemic prevention and preparedness coordinator from among the officials of the Public Health Agency of Canada and delegate to the coordinator the powers, duties, and functions that the minister considers appropriate. Blank check. So we're going to have another government czar telling you what to do. Some retired Klaus Schwab, right out of the WEF playbook. Do you think Justin Trudeau is behind this bill? You bet he is. He got a private member to do it for him. But that's an easier way to get these things to pass. That's the strategy. This is what the Liberals do. Get a private member to introduce the bill quietly move it through the mechanisms, first, second, third reading, limited debate, no real revisions to that bill. In committee, it moves up to Senate. Have you been to the Senate lately? It is a medium of chaos. They've got like 5 different parties all there. And you're not sure where it begins and where it ends, except all of these micro parties that have been formed are all aligned with Justin Trudeau. So they're not necessarily sitting as liberal senators. They're sitting as Trudeau senators. It's worse. Trudeau said he was going to, remember, cut off, sever the Senate from the Liberal Party. He was going to make them independent. He made them dependent on Justin Trudeau. They're all woke. He's appointing woke politicians, woke people to the Senate, but instead of their allegiance being to a party, their allegiance is to a person. Where have you heard that one before? What other kind of countries were people personally pledging allegiance to a leader? Heard that one before. I think it was a country in Europe, actually, in the 1930s. But if I say it, watch out. Let's have a look at some of these slides because it is absolutely fascinating what's going on here. This is a food professor. It's one, Sylvain Charlebois. Please have a look at his material. This guy is on the ball. He knows what he's talking. Bill C-293 is dangerous considering our food supplies from farm to fork. The government shouldn't be the cook ever. Tomorrow on the Food Professor podcast, we'll debate the controversial Bill C-293. So this guy's been on top of this. Unfortunately, the media has not, including myself. When I'm to blame, I blame myself. I've not been aware of this bill. A lot of you have been telling me to be aware of this bill, and I missed it. And like I say, yeah, I talk a lot about free speech on this platform, and I think that's the most important issue facing Canada. But I'm also very concerned about what I eat and what I'm allowed to eat. And any government infringement upon that is anathema to me. Let's have a look at this. Yeah. He's actually underlined exactly what I just read to you from the bill. These are the key points. It's amazing. I didn't see this slide till this morning. And that's exactly what I picked out of this bill as the key components of authoritarian rule in this country. It's the regulation of the meat industry and the potential powers given to this emergency preparedness czar to shut down the meat industry. This is frightening. This bill C-293, a private member's bill, stands as one of the most unreal pieces of legislation I have witnessed in my career. And it is. So much of what we're seeing right now, I would describe as surreal or unreal. And Sylvain Charlebois says here, can't blame the media for not covering controversial Bill C-293. Oh,
Talk
we've
about
got the video
Bill
coming up here.
C-293. Say what? Bill C-293. You've never heard of it, but that bill could change our entire agri-food sector.
There's a piece of legislation coming from the House, a private member's bill actually, that has landed in the Senate, Bill C-293. Measures to regulate commercial practices to try and minimize pandemic risks. This is how it's being proposed. We're getting a ton of mail in here about this. What do you know and what do you think about this?
There's something I don't understand about this bill. What's the strategic intent here? I mean,
Yeah.
what's the spirit behind this bill? What are we trying to accomplish here? Are we trying to pick winners and losers? Is that what we're trying to achieve? Is it about real risks or is it about perceptual risks? Is it about perhaps enticing Canadians to eat differently? I'm honestly, Senator, when I read the bill, and I read the bill 2 days ago, I'm very, very confused. I have no idea what this bill is trying to accomplish, to be honest.
We're getting so many, comments from the public saying, what are we trying to do here? Control, the pandemic responses when it comes
Well, my apologies for the technical problems there. But you
pandemic
heard
responses
Sylvain.
when it comes to animals as well.
Yeah, that's anyway. You heard most of that, and I think I want to read from the concluding remarks that Sylvain made in his column because I think that really says it all. As it stands now, Bill C-293 presents considerable risk to the stability and sustainability of Canada's crucial agricultural and agri-food sector. The Senate must decisively reject this bill. Beyond its implications for food policy, Bill C-293 also reflects broader concerns about the state of our democracy and the level of public awareness in Canada. The fact that this bill has remained under the radar until now speaks volumes about the current state of public engagement and information. If more Canadians were aware, there's little doubt this bill would face overwhelming opposition. Right now, what's the takeaway from this broadcast today? This bill has passed third reading. It's in the hands of the Senate. Pretty hard to influence the Senate. It's hard enough to influence your member of parliament, pretty hard to influence your senator. And more than half of these senators in the House right now have been appointed by Justin Trudeau and are woke. They're not just liberal, they're really woke politicians. They will love this bill. So this is bad news. But we need to be on top of these things. And what does this bill potentially do? It potentially shuts down the meat industry, all of it, from raising beef, poultry, pork, to meat packing, the whole chain. It could shut it all down in some vague, nebulous emergency preparedness fashion. There's no evidence at all that doing so will in any way prepare us for a pandemic or combat a pandemic. This is all about radical ideology, woke ideology from the extreme left of the Liberal caucus to stop you from eating meat, to stop you from having the choice now about what you want to eat. That's all this bill is about. It is being proposed by a radical vegan and a radical authoritarian who wants to regulate not just the meat industry, but your minds and your opinion and your ability to feed yourself. And I told you at the very beginning, don't take away my freedom of speech and don't touch my T-bone steaks, because you do so at your own peril. Thank you for watching today. I'm going to try to get to church this morning. I hope you do the same. Or if your preference is a synagogue or a temple, did I miss anything? Yep. Go there too. Thanks for watching today, folks. God bless you on this Sunday, and I'll be back again tomorrow.